But I appreciate the compliment. And the thing that just comes to my mind, it's kind of like what Jordan was saying about appreciating where you've been, what you've been through. It's not like I don't want to crap on anybody or just looking back at the past, be like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. It's like, no, like when we talk even about like the extreme, like extreme execution, it's like learning my personality. I know that extreme doesn't work for me. Like,
Mhm.
yes, there's times like now I'm being I'm being conscious that I need to go after sponsors.
Right.
And like that's okay if you're going to have a podcast, you need it. If you're going to fund it, aside from just funding it out of your pocket, you need to partner with people that match what it is that you're trying to provide people. And it's like, okay, like how can I do that? And just even getting the courage and having the confidence to just say, hey, this is what I do. Can we work together? Like just asking a question like that. Like I started to write out an email for like two supplement companies because like um I'd seen it I've seen their commercials all the time on YouTube. Like
Mhm.
maybe I won't say the name, but like one it just always has this about like colon health or gut health. And a guy, he's telling his story about how he had like this life-threatening experience, but like it's the way he presents it. And I'm like, I'm sure you can prepare and like polish yourself to where you sell without selling. But like when he talks about it, every time I'm like, oh man, like I'm excited to like I want this guy to win. Like I want his story to go on. I think it's called Umzu. And it's funny to me because it's like it's a guy doing a commercial talking about poop. And it's like, who can't laugh about poop? But
But
it's like,
like, that's the most fundamental part of living, though. Like,
right,
that's
right.
that's
And
crazy.
it's like just the way that they go about talking about it. I'm like, hey, if I could partner with this group, cool. Like, and like, I'd like to use the products and see how they actually work. And initially, I would go the route of like, oh, let me order this, but like, in being more frugal and paying attention to the purchases that I'm making, I'm like, okay, I can, but maybe not yet. And like seeing another brand like on it that's like a Rogan brand, it's like, okay, like I keep hearing about this, like all the comedians are talking about it. It's like they all back each other up. And I'm like, that's good to see. It's something else I would like to try. It's nice to have, but maybe not yet. And that's like implying that self discipline on myself to where I'm like, okay, what's something I can do right now? I can record these podcasts. Like, let me record, but let me just focus on having the conversations. Like I was telling you before, like have the conversations with somebody and then just in having the conversations, I'm getting better at listening and actually hearing what people are saying and not what I like how much can I get out of them to just be like, okay, okay, they said that, they said that, they said that. And like, okay, my turn to talk, my turn to talk. But it's like I felt that way for a long time because I wasn't giving myself time. Like I wasn't acknowledging myself first time in the mirror. Like I might jump on the line or I might want to hear what somebody else has to say. But it's like, okay, no, like, okay, you heard what everybody else said. You had all the advice, like kind of going to the hustle culture thing. It's like, I think it takes me back to one of the first episodes we did where I was like, is it hype or hustle? Which do you see? And you brought it out
Like,
like,
don't
what are
believe
we
the hype.
talking? Right. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
what type of hustle are you talking about? Are you talking about hustlers or are you talking about hustlers? And it's like, oh, I didn't know there was a difference. And it's like, okay, okay, let's talk about it. And it's just like that the part on just growing as an individual and becoming more self-aware. I think figuring out how to do it at my own pace has been like the overarching lesson to kind of be like, okay, I started out on this self development journey listening to ET, and like the big thing that he talks about is self awareness. Like him and CJ, when they did the podcast, they talk about self awareness, and it's like it takes practice to be self aware. Like you don't just become all right, now I'm self-aware. Now I'm paying attention. Now I'm hearing. And it's like I had to take a moment to um stop listening to a lot of other things, to let things kind of really get quiet and be like, okay, like maybe there isn't another, like, going on a walk and asking God, hey God, I want this, I want that, pray for this, pray for that. But it's like, all right, man, when are you gonna shut up for a minute and let me
Right.
let
Right.
us dialogue? It's like you just show up when things go bad. It's like things are great. Oh man, who needs God? It's like, I don't know if I believe in this. I'm
Right.
over here, I'm so intelligent, I'm so great, I'm so good, this, that, and the other.
Or
And
you're
it's
stuck
like,
in your own head, and you
right,
it's
but
like,
it's like the minute something doesn't go my way, it's like, oh God, woe is me. And it's
my
like,
bad, my bad,
right,
God.
right, my bad. But then it's like I could quickly justify my action and look at somebody else and being like, well, they didn't and they didn't. And it's like, it's not about them. Like you can keep I can keep going in the cycle of like, well, I'm this way because so and so, or well, if they can get away with it. So it's like, no, that's not the goal. That's what I'm learning. It's like in developing and growing and like being able to chat with you, having conversations like this, having like that quiet time or the self-reflection. The thing that just comes out at the end of it is just like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, regardless of what went on that day, what didn't go on, and just being able to appreciate, like, just it's like I get to play in the dirt. Like, of course, when I went
I
through school,
love
like
I love
there,
when you said that though, because it's like you get to legitly do something that you enjoy. You get to do something that you went to school for. You get to do something that still brings you income. I was like, I don't know if you can define success any more pointed. Like to me, that is success at its pinnacle. Like it's not because it truly isn't the money. It
Mhm,
truly isn't, quote unquote, the wealth. But I truly do believe that success is correlation of doing what you love, how you like doing it, how you were trained to do it,
mhm,
performing at the most optimum level at it, and getting paid to do it. To me, that is success because at the end of the day, you can go to sleep knowing that you did exactly what you were quote unquote created to do or what you went to school for. Now,
yeah,
everything else is extra, yes, but
yeah,
like you're in alignment. Like you don't go to sleep worried about what if this person doesn't show up tomorrow, what if my client doesn't book, what if they cancel, what if it's like that's to me that's stress, and to me that's that entrepreneurial quote unquote hustle stress that we
mhm,
put on ourselves because we cut out the net underneath us and we're trying to build that parachute as we jump into the plane. But why do that to yourself when why hustle when you don't have to? Why quote
mhm,
unquote get it out of the mud
right.
when you don't have to? Pun intended. But
Well, it's funny because like we talked about having the immigrant background. It's weird because it's like you have your parent that comes before you that didn't have a net, that fought so hard to establish a net, to be like, hey, yes, go achieve all you can achieve, but like have something underneath you to where you don't want to go through what I went through. Like you don't like the people. Like I can only imagine coming from something like a genocide and having that perspective. Like my dad recently went to visit, like, I'm on West Coast, you're on the East Coast. And it's like he was like, oh, I'm in Uganda. And it's like, oh, there's a Cameroonian family that lived up in North Georgia, and they just relocated to, I think it was either Uganda or Rwanda.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, like I hadn't heard anything positive. And again, it might be spin, but it's like they were able to relocate, establish a business, get their kids in school, get people to help them around the house. And it's like, it seems like it's done a complete 180.
Mm.
And like there's what I guess there's what you hear in the news, there's like personal experiences that people have, but like sometimes there's that trying to find the truth in the middle of it. But then what, as I was listening to you guys talk, I was like, let me just listen. And then other times it's like after it's done, I'm like, let me just mind my business because like we were talking before, it's like, hey, have you heard about the
Oh yeah, like the monkeypox.
right. It was like the monkeypox or like the new variant or something like that. And I was like, nope. Like
Right.
I've heard about it maybe twice. And I was like, I'm minding my business. Like
Yeah.
I'll scroll through social media from time to time, but like the thing that kind of makes me smile inside and just be able to appreciate that, hey, like you're making progress. You're a little bit more self-aware of yourself today than you were yesterday. It's like, okay, like the thing that would trigger
Mhm.
isn't as triggering. And I just remembered having a conversation with Regina during the week. She was we kind of it was like reflecting on what a trigger actually is. Like if you talk about going through like gun safety class, it's like the way that you're taught to utilize a firearm is that your finger should always just be pointed, extended,
Mhm.
not on the trigger, but away from it. Because it's like that trigger should only be affected when you're 100%, 1,000% clear in your head, you intend to pull the trigger to take someone's life, to wound someone. That is the only thing. And then now thinking about trigger as like this term that's in the zeitgeist, so to say, is like people say, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. It's like maybe you should work on taking your hand off the trigger for a bit. Like there are things that are going to, yeah, they're gonna that 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 that. But when she pointed it out like that, and just being able to talk with her for the better part of 2 years now,
Mhm.
regularly, and just being able to like have that like those debrief sessions that just really just check in and kind of take a perspective of like having someone on the outside be able to communicate with you and just to be like, you're doing all right. Like
Okay,
you're
okay, so I love the trigger thing because that just literally kind of brought me back to full circle to range training is like keep your fingers straight off the trigger until you intend to shoot. Like
mm,
know your target, know what lives by beyond it.
mm,
And it's one of those things, it's like at no point, even in the most dire situations, should you engage unless you have to. But then I also know that there are safeties to triggers.
mm,
Like if you keep your weapon on safe, it doesn't matter what trigger hits you and or like what bumps the trigger, it's not gonna go off. Um and I think a lot of people have no safeties for their triggers. And I
mm,
think that but a safety is the awareness. Like the safety to your triggers is the awareness that okay, why am I being triggered? Oh, okay, they said something. They said this specific word, and I hate that word. And the
right.
reason why I hate that word is because it was used against me, in an abuse form. Okay, now you've literally put a safety on your trigger because now you know
Mm,
that that word is associated to a trauma that you had. Okay, now when it's said, is like, okay, it's not them. It's my past that I'm still
right.
working through, and that's the safety on the trigger. And it sounds so simple, and I'm sure there's a lot of work that has to go by, behind it. But I
Mhm,
also know that if you walk around with your finger on the trigger, then you have no safety. You're only
mm,
shooting yourself. You're wounding people around you that don't need to be wounded. You're causing damage because you're
yeah.
being triggered so often, and you're just going off. And you're right, at no point, because we're all weapons in one way or another. We all can weaponize our words, our our actions, but at no point should you be walking around without being unsafe.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? Like,
Right.
knowing how much power you have as a person, why would you walk around without a safety on?
Mm,
And I think that is maybe just due to not enough people know gun safety because it
no,
did
yeah.
so many. sense. But anyway,
But
that's no here or
yeah,
there.
no, I like what you said because what you pointed to with the simplicity of it, it brings clarity because like maybe we'll go into it another time, but I think just pairing both like what a trigger is and how people mention it now and knowing that you can have a safety with the trigger being your like that self-awareness that you build within yourself and knowing that like hey the better you get at understanding what those are like the better you can develop as a person and it's less about what's happening to you but you learning okay this is happening, this is what I can do about it, this is how I can respond, this is the control that I now have instead of just being like oh like that we talk about the they like are coming after me or like something's always out to get me. It's like everybody, like we can't save everybody per se, but being able to grow as we are, heal, and learn to help ourselves to become better humans and be able to have a conversation like this. I think that helps someone have that like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Like I'm not the only one. Like, what is it? You'd say, oh, I'm not so special that these problems only happen to me. But
Right.
it's like you can kind of instead of just going down the rabbit hole of being like, oh, woe's me, it's like, no, like the problems may not just be happening to you, but now it's like you understand because somebody else got through their issue, like maybe there's a chance for me. Okay, they have a plan. Okay, how can I think about this different now that I have this information in my mind? I think that
Mm.
that's enough of a starter because it's like too many times when you look at the quick fix or like do this step, do that step. It's like sometimes, yeah, those steps help, but just starting with the self-awareness piece to be like, okay, things may happen to me or things might happen around me, but now I'm aware that there's a way to deal with it.
Right. It's
Or
like
there's a way to not deal with it. It's like, oh,
right.
okay, like I can walk away like the
Like you don't
not
have to engage every target that you see. You really
right.
don't. Like I remember one time this one soldier was telling me, um, man, Sergeant Brown, like man, the chain of command is always after me. But I was like, I'm part of your chain of command. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. And I was like, wait, let me stop you. I was like, tell me, and I was like, please feel free to answer these questions. And I said,
Mhm.
one, like, what makes you believe that you are worthy enough of my attention 24/7?
Ooh.
And they had to stop and think. And I was like, okay, so if you can answer that, what makes you think that the command or like the people above me
Mhm.
have you in the radar 24/7? Like, what makes you that important? Are are
Mhm.
are you the best soldier in this battalion? No. Are you the worst? No. Okay, so you're mediocre. Okay. Are
Mhm.
you like are you wealthy? Are you like what makes you believe all these people are after you?
Mhm.
And it's one and they had to stop and say, "Oh, I guess they're not." I was like, "Okay." It's like you're only paranoid, and I had to make sure that I allowed them to him to have his own time. I was like, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that you're only paranoid because blah blah blah, but I'm saying like your paranoia has put you on a level where you're seeing everybody as an enemy, and not everybody's is the enemy. I was
Right.
like, you annoyed the heck out of me because you keep, as your supervisor, I keep having to correct your mess because of what you're doing because you won't admit that you don't know something, and so you keep, doing the wrong thing. I was
Mhm.
like, but I'm not out to get. I was like, I have 10 other soldiers I got to worry about.
Mhm.
And like, I'm sorry. I was like, you're not worthy that much of my time. Like,
Mhm.
stop thinking that you're all that in a bag of chips because you're not. I was like, okay, because and I had to to be mean in a sense because I wanted to make sure that I put a point across. Like, you're not that important to me to be worried about 24/7. You're not a child. You're an adult. You got your own family. I was
Right.
like, I
Right.
got my family too. And so when people around us literally feel like everybody's out to get them, like I tend to ask them the questions like, what do you really believe that you're worthy of everybody's time and
Mm.
mental space? Like, do you really think that people sit in their house day in and day out plotting on you like as if you're MLK?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like you're not.
Right.
So go on about your life and live your life. Like you're not that important for me to worry about all the time.
Mm.
And it does really put perspective, even for me, when I start to get this feeling like, man, it's like nothing's working out. Who's out to get me, right? And it's like,
Right. Right.
well, nobody's out to get me. And then I have to reassess what I'm, like what I'm doing, and I realize, okay, I'm self sabotaging. But yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out to get myself. So, and it's just those things that I look back now and I'm like, oh, okay, like I can use that in life now and know that I'm okay. I'm not, I don't have to be, the one with the most likes. I don't have to be the one with the most haters.
Yeah.
I'm okay just existing in this
Yeah.
universe and in this world. And I don't have to pinpoint everything on me, and I can just be accountable for myself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, which speaking of which, I do gotta go eat. Because my wife was like, it's your birthday. What are you doing? Like, it's like and I think we're gonna go out to this food court thing and
Yeah.
we I'll send you some pictures. It's pretty dope. It's got like 15 restaurants in there, but like, they're all like little kiosks, and so it's like
Yeah.
you can go and eat from everywhere. Anyway,
Awesome.
yeah.
Good choice. Good choice.
I was like, I don't want to be limited to just one restaurant. I want
I, li-
I want
I
all the
like I like how you think, my man. I like how you think.
I'm a foodie, so I can't complain. But yeah,
Well,
man. But
enjoy it.
that's
I'll
man.
send you a picture of the cake I just grabbed, and I was like, "How am I justifying grabbing this cake?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Theo's birthday. Maybe I should just bring it out here and be like, 'Happy birthday, man!' I'll cut a slice, and it's like I'll have a slice a day each day of this week just for you, just so that you remember." But I'll let you go, man.
I
Appreciate you
appreciate
doing
that,
this.
bro.
Happy
No, I
birthday.
appreciate you having me on, man. I think this was a great way to definitely start my birth year. Because every year I've made it a point to start my year, not on New Year's Day, but like on my birthday. So I was like, okay, cool. This is a great year to like this is a great way to start a year, man.
Yeah,
Can't complain. I
I
love it.
like it.
I
All
love
right.
it. I love it. All
Take
right, man.
care, man.
All right,
Peace.
likewise, bro. All right, later.